do a few there with the colourful flowers.
They won't be very happy, but the parky will be chasing after us. I didn't grow up with kind of club culture and things. I didn't kind of come from that thing, but around the same time I started releasing records, I started DJing and stuff and going to clubs at the same time, and because of that it's always been kind of tied in with what I do, you know. It's like that bit in Terminator where he suddenly like arrives and
It's off my floor.
I should be naked.
You come a little bit more forward, just to get the blue. Yeah, that's good.
I've always seen dance music as music you can dance to, you know. I'll play any record in any genre, you know, if it'll work in that kind of format, you know, if the rhythm's right and I know people will dance to it in a certain way, then it becomes dance music, you know, and it's something I'll play in a club. Yeah, I don't really think in terms of genre very much when I'm sort of thinking about all the stuff I'm working on and stuff I'm involved in. Maybe people have heard my music and like it, but don't necessarily totally know some of the stuff I'm listening to or the things I'm kind of drawing from and influenced by. So doing like a compilation album that maybe illustrates that a bit is just kind of nice sort of sideline to the music I make.
You do when we're hiding more behind the tree, but you're coming. Yeah. You can do the crazy look if you.
They asked me to do it
That's
around
good.
the time I was just started doing this stuff with Timo Maas at the end, and I think the notion of kind of being a DJ playing dance music was a bit more in my head than normal, and also because of the other compilations they'd done in the past, you know, I thought it was maybe a chance to present the more kind of dance floor orientated side of what I was doing. You know, I knew that it was that type of audience that might look at a release in this series, so it seemed like a chance to do something that was more kind of upbeat, and also because the last Four Tet album, Everything Ecstatic, definitely had more of a kind of dance music influence than previous stuff I'd done, and it was kind of in my mind because of that. I just chose tracks from just things that I really liked, you know. I decided not to worry about it too much. I think I got asked to do the compilation, and then I was just like, oh, you know, I just grabbed a bunch of records, you know, ones that, you know, a few kind of old classics, things that I've been playing a long time, and a few things that I liked that I felt people didn't know enough. So I would have been choosing things as well that I thought were maybe kind of, you know, music that was almost lost in some ways that I thought needed resurrecting. There's this guy, Gary Davis, on there, who's this kind of disco producer who, I think he made this really kind of classic record, and he's totally, nobody seems to know him very much at all, and I've included him in the compilation, and we licensed the track off him for the compilation, and now I'm actually in touch with him, and you know, he seems really flattered that we're using it, and I'm excited to, you know, get his music out there and be in contact with him as well. You know, this is my bootleg copy that I got recently, and then Gary very nicely sent me one of the incredibly rare original copies of this record, and yeah, he recently got in touch and he makes films now and stuff, and I guess he's in his 50s or something. He lives in Florida, and yeah, hopefully now I'll get to meet him and things, and yeah, he even sent me an email the other day suggesting we tour together, which sounded like pretty interesting. Things like that for me are really, really nice, you know, to be able to find a musician that I respect that I think people don't know enough about, and be able to introduce maybe to a new kind of audience and stuff. And you know, it's kind of, I like the idea of young kids or whatever going and hearing this album and be like, oh, who's Gary Davis, you know, and looking him up on the internet. And you know, I see a jazz track and a piece of African folk music and a Detroit techno track, and I can see kind of links between those musics, and I know, even though from such different kind of cultural situations, I can see how those music kind of interweave together, and I think that's the sort of thing that's possible, you know, on a compilation like this or a DJ set or something. Quick Space Super Sport, track Super Plus. This is a band that when I was about 14 or 15 I started seeing them play loads around London and Camden and places, and one of the bands that kind of inspired me most to want to make music and stuff. They're doing kind of krautrocky type of thing, a bit like Stereolab, who I played out earlier, but I know I just saw them, it made me want to start bands and making music, things like that. So they only ever put out a handful of singles, and then they changed their name to Quickspace and became a different band that I don't think I really liked as much, but they existed for about a year and they were the best thing ever for that time. I think I definitely love and kind of admire the sort of like rhythmic sort of soulfulness that you'll get on, you know, great kind of soul records or funk records or hip hop records or whatever. And I think with the DJ Kicks thing, I definitely, all the music on there is very kind of rhythmic, I guess, and you know, there's all styles of music on there, but all of them have definitely got kind of rhythm in the forefront. You know, be it a jazz record with really kind of pounding drums on it, or you know, there are I'm trying to think what's on there now, like disco records and kind of techno records and stuff, but all ones that I feel can sort of fit together rhythmically. Four Tet, Flutter from that NTP. Something I really love, both I think musically it's incredible, but I love that it was essentially a political record as well. It made the protest about the criminal justice bill, and you know, I think a lot of electronic music nowadays is a bit too quite indulgent in the way people are making it their own private little universe and making music that's often designed to listen to on your own at home rather than maybe bring people together and celebrate and stuff. And I think you know, I like how this record's so outgoing in the way that not only did it try to entertain people, but it tried to say something about the serious issue that was going on at the time, and it still sounds good today as well. All the influences and stuff that I have across all these sort of records and things is spilling into the music I make. You know, I think, yeah, I guess my music's completely almost a product of, you know, this huge kind of range of music and culture and everything that I've taken in my life.
Perfect. I think that's it. Thanks a lot, my man. That should be a good one.
Exclusive track I did, Pockets, for the compilation. I guess it's the only new Four Tet track I've made this year, really, and I'd put together all the tracks for the compilation, and then I worked on this afterwards as something that I thought was kind of in the spirit of maybe all the other things that were on the record. I think because of that, it's come out as a bit more dancey than other records I've made in the past. But I thought, you know, it seemed like an interesting thing to do something a bit more like that, and I've made it in a very dancey looking 12-inch and everything. So I wasn't making this a compilation that people could necessarily dance to. You know, I think it was inspired by experiences of DJing and stuff. But you're making a CD, you know, that people are going to go and buy at the shop or whatever, and then ultimately play at home, you know. So I wanted to make something that, you know, you can listen to in a car or in a club or in a bath or wherever, and it makes sense.